What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 9BD. Chapter 201 Desperate Kaido, kneeling down and begging for mercy. Advertisement. Although Kaido and the Ants men suffered heavy losses at Marineford, some important cadres survived. Kaido has plagued Quinn and Flaming Embers, and the Ant has the eldest son Perospero. And when Dover showed up just now, these people paled with fright. Dover's figure like a demon in the sky above Marineford really left them too much psychological shadow. Especially Quinn, who likes running the most, has already planned to drive off. Boss Kaido, I'm sorry, although you are going with the old lady, you are probably not Joker's opponent. I don't want to die yet, I want to live a few more years. Quinn rolled his eyes, and Xiao Juju was in his heart. He was waiting for the opportunity, and when Kaido old Aunt Yamato, and the terrible Joker raged and couldn't care about other people, he decisively escaped. Would you like to call Shang Jin? He can fly, take Lousy, maybe he can run faster. But Jin is a 11-brainer, maybe Lousy sold it. Quinn was struggling, and suddenly Jin yanked him abruptly. Queen, Guy Kaido boss is going to work. What? The ghost thought just now suddenly scared the sky. Quinn quickly raised his head, and immediately his eyeballs stretched out more than a meter. I saw that Kaido's boss who became Azure Dragon was cut in half at this moment. And the Ant Charlotte Linlin is even more terrifying, and her head has moved. The blood wine filled the sky, and the sea was scarlet. What is going on here? What about the envisaged violent battle? Why did it end before it started? Kaido, old lady Yamato, can't help but beat her. Quinn was stupid and stayed. He turned his gaze to the high sky, and just raised his hand slightly, causing the two great four emperors to die and wound the terrifying man. The whole body was stunned, and endless horror came to my heart. Advertisement. It's not that Kaido old Aunt Yamato couldn't help but fight, but this man is stronger. It is more powerful than Marineford. It is so powerful that it is not what they can imagine. Escape. You must escape. Stay here, there is only a dead end. Quinn turned around and ran wildly without saying a word. Yan's eyes widened, and he looked at Quinn's back in disbelief. The image of the man who killed the ant and seriously injured the boss of Kaido flashed in his mind. Can't help but run away. Mother, Ant's sons Perospero, Dafu and others are all stupid. Her extremely powerful mother was actually killed in less than a second. You know, mother has a tyrannical body like a steel balloon, even a cannon and sword will not leave a trace on her body. But now, Joker didn't know what means he used, and directly moved his mother's head. Ah, is this a god? The Ant's sons collapsed, and they didn't have the courage to resist at all. Dover looked in the direction of Quinn, Jin, the Ant's son and others, and waved his hand with a sneer. Endless darkness fell, turning into pitch black water, blinking to catch up with Perospero and others. What? I don't want to die yet. What the hell is this? It's going to suck me in. The screams of horror continued to sound. It was just a blink of an eye. The Ant's son, subordinates, Kaido's subordinates, including the fastest runner, Quinn and Jin, were all swallowed by the black water, and there were no bones left. Joker. Quote. What ability do you use? Advertisement. Aren't you a capable person of string fruit, why do you still have the power of space and darkness? Although Kaido was cut off by half of the dragon's body, he was not dead yet, and Zone's powerful recovery ability was revealed at this time. The wound healed extremely quickly, Kaido recovered his body, but lost one of his legs, even Zone's resilience would not grow. Kaido was looking at Dover in horror at this moment. He thought that even if he was not Dover's opponent, the gap would not be too big, as long as he was not trapped by Dover's black birdcage. After all, Kaido is also the world's top powerhouse, how can the top powerhouse be killed in seconds? What's more, there are still aunts here, and you can escape even if you can't escape. But now, the bloody reality is right in front of him, making Kaido almost crazy. Joker, how can he become so unreasonably powerful? Even his former captain, Rox is not so scary. String fruit 290, things like that have long been unable to restrain me. Dover said indifferently, a finger clicked out again. You can regard me as the power of all fruits, and the sea must surrender under my feet. How can it be? All those who are capable of fruit, do they still exist like this? Kaido looked at the ant's broken head and neck, where there was a dark space crack slowly disappearing. I can ignore the ant's steel balloon, and only the power of the space fruit that tears the space can do this step. And the black water that swallowed his subordinates just now was the power of dark fruit. In other words, Joker is at least the power of the three major fruits. This is simply unimaginable. How to fight? Kaido was desperate and gave up. He knelt on the ground all of a sudden, trembling in his mouth and shouted. Master Joker, please raise your hand and let me go. My beast Kaido, I am willing to be your mount from now on, and be a cow and a horse for you. A generation of 4 emperors, Kaido, the beast known as the #1 singled out by sea, land and air, actually kneeled down like a slave to beg for mercy. Chapter 202 Fujitora who came to take refuge, returns to Dressrosa. Advertisement. Kaido knelt down and begged for mercy, willing to be Dover's mount, without the dignity of the 4 emperors. But Dover is not so surprised. Among the 4 emperors, it is undoubtedly Kaido to discuss who is the most unscrupulous in order to achieve the goal. Deception, kidnapping, threats, Kaido does everything in order to get Wano Kuni. And at this moment, what does it count for him to abandon his dignity in order to survive? Of course, more importantly, in the face of Dover's power that cannot be described in words, Kaido doesn't even have the courage to escape and struggle. Dover looked indifferent, but he didn't bother to look at Kaido again. With a light movement of his fingers, countless small cracks appeared in the space where Kaido was. What? Kaido let out a scream, and was directly divided by the countless space cracks and 5 horses. If Kaido could resist to the end, Dover might still give him a decent way to die. But since it showed such an ugly appearance, he didn't even have the qualification to let Dover take another look. A breeze blew by, blowing away the bloody smell spreading in the air. If it hadn't happened in reality, I'm afraid no one would believe it. At the last moment, the 2 four emperors who had smashed the ocean for decades died here at the same time. Together with their forces, they are all wiped out. But Dover, the instigator, had always been calm and indifferent, as if he had only done a trivial thing. Don't come out yet, Fujitora smiled. Dover spoke without warning and glanced in one direction. As soon as his voice fell, a figure flashed out from there. Amazingly, it is Fujitora, who should have joined Marine with Green Bull in the original book, and possesses Admiral-level strength, the heavy fruit ability Fujitora. Fujitora witnessed the whole process of Dover killing the 2 four emperors like an ant. He was shocked. For Dover's more unfathomable strength than a month ago, it was unstoppable. Advertisement. And Dover found him hiding on the side, and Fujitora did not have the slightest surprise. However, Dover called out his name in one sip, which surprised Fujitora. Did Lord Dover and I have met before? Fujitora was puzzled, but he was certain that if he had met Dover before, he would never forget it. Master Dover, where did you learn his name? Fujitora was about to ask, but the expression on Barry's face suddenly shocked, becoming shocked and inconceivable. Because, perceived by his incredible observation hockey, the figure of Dover who was still in front of him just disappeared. What's the matter? What's wrong with the old man's experience? No, it's impossible. After blinding his eyes, the old man can even perceive the universe. That's Master Dover, who is beyond the distance of the old man's perception in an instant. Fujitora was at a loss, and the next moment, Dover's figure appeared in his sight, and the position was not the slightest deviation from just now. Master Dover hasn't stayed far away. He has always been on the same spot. Then why couldn't the old man perceive it just now? Fujitora couldn't understand it, and was extremely confused. And Dover seemed to know his confusion, and then he said. You can think that you have used the power of the fruit of time to go back to the past. Back in the past, Fujitora was dumbfounded and her mouth opened wide. If ordinary people say this, Fujitora will surely laugh, but if Master Dover says this, it must be true. Master Dover, Fujitora said with excitement and a trace of trembling. Your Kamui is more and more world famous. Dover smiled slightly. Advertisement. He has just returned to the past and has already figured out the reason why Fujitora appeared here. It was his act of destroying Mariajoy at Marineford, which was recognized and admired by Fujitora, so he did not join Marine and chose to take refuge in him. Not only that, when Kaido and Anti attacked Dressrosa, Fujitora made repeated shots, pulling meteorites from space and forcing Ant Kaido's fleet back. Fujitora, your arrival is really an unexpected happy event for me. Dover said sincerely. Fujitora was taken aback, and it seemed that Master Dover was already clear about his arrival without him needing to explain it. Fujitora became more and more in awe and admiration. Such unpredictable abilities, even the world's top powerhouse, are beyond the reach. At the moment, without any hesitation, Fujitora swore allegiance to Dover and became another admiral-class combat power besides Virgo. Dover is in a good mood. Even without Fujitora, he can easily do whatever he wants. But it is really the first time for such a top-notch player to take the initiative to vote. Next, Dover took Fujitora back to Dressrosa, and of course the first kingdom of Osno. When the family officials and women in the Osno kingdom saw Dover's figure, they all showed unbelievable expressions. Then came tears of joy. Especially the girls rushed into Dover's arms while wiping their tears. The lovely sugar hung around Dover's neck like a sling bear. Viola, who was enthusiastic, hugged Dover's waist tightly, her honey-colored skin pressed tightly. The loyal maid, Baby 5, leaned on Dover's lap. Monet, dressed in a black secretary suit, held Dover's left hand excitedly and affectionately. Robin, who has always been an active, calm, intelligent, intellectual and elegant, clasped Dover's right hand tightly, and his beautiful eyes were full of infinite tenderness. Dover embraced the beauty in his arms, and underneath were all family cadres and citizens, enthusiastically cheering and bowing down. Dover's mood is getting better and better. Yang. Chapter 203 The Return of Joker, the world is shaking. Advertisement. Dover returned, and the whole country was rejoicing. In the apse of the Osno Palace, a girl with a strong pink dress set off a slender and beautiful girl. Hearing the cheers, the originally gloomy and pretty face suddenly burst into a bright brilliance. The girl almost subconsciously ran to the main hall, but when she saw the man on the throne of the main hall, the man hugged left and right, surrounded by beauty, the young master's footsteps suddenly stopped, biting half of his lips and thinking bitterly. Sure enough, he is a big bad guy, Shang-kun. How can I be happy because he is not dead? Thinking of this, the girl became more and more annoyed, and turned back when she stepped on her foot. Although the girl only appeared for less than 30 seconds, Dover still noticed. His eyes flashed, revealing memories. It's her, Rebecca, the granddaughter of King Liku. That's right, the beautiful girl in pink dress just now is Rebecca. Dover had heard Viola say that Rebecca still hated him for taking Dressrosa, but Dover didn't care about it at all. What can a weak girl do? As long as Rebecca is not stupid, Dover will not touch Viola when she sees her face. As for now, Dover is even more indifferent. Even if Rebecca's 290 overpowered to assassinate him, Dover would only smile faintly. With his current strength, standing still and letting Rebecca stab with a sword would not suffer any harm. After a smile, Dover left the Rebecca thing behind. He roughly dealt with domestic and foreign affairs, and that night, he embraced his daughters and returned to the room. The lights in Viola's bedroom were so bright that they didn't go out until late at night. Within, Viola is like the violet in full bloom, desperately desperate. Monet smiled happily, his skin was snowy, and he was extremely beautiful. Baby 5 walks on a pair of beautiful long legs, can't stop for a moment. Robin's cheeks were reddish, sweat dripped from his white forehead, and he twisted Dover in shame. Even the little Wajiyu duo, Sugar, was cheering and joining in the fun. Dover, enjoying the blessing of all the enthusiasm, flashed his eyes suddenly and looked out of the hall. What's wrong? Advertisement. The girls were shocked and hurriedly put on the quilt. Could it be that some brave guy dared to come here at this time? A weird smile on Dover's face. Don't worry, be bad. But he stretched out his hand and caught the figure who was peeping outside the temple and caught it in. Rebecca, why are you? Viola screamed, never thought it was her niece. Immediately afterwards, Viola seemed to have thought of something, her face changed immediately, and a look of anxiety flashed in her beautiful eyes. At this time, Dover looked at Rebecca in the pink dress and spoke blankly. Why, are you here to assassinate me? Rebecca's voice was trembling, and in the current situation, she was extremely ashamed, but also with inexplicable panic and fear. For a long time, Rebecca didn't say a complete sentence, but tears filled her big eyes. Viola moved in her heart, stood up, and took Rebecca's jade hand. Don't be afraid of Rebecca, come with Auntie. Put Rebecca between the girls. Granulated Sugar pouted and mumbled, so it's a vixen again. Rebecca closed her eyes tightly, her face seemed to be bloodied. The corners of Dover's mouth curled up, with a trace of evil charm. Robin blushed and sighed, it's more silly than before. At the same time, Dover returned to Dressrosa, and the news that the demon-like Joker was still alive spread to the entire world at an indescribable speed. What followed immediately was a violent stormy sea. North Blue. The German soldiers led by Vinsmoke Reiju, under the supervision of Stussy, have almost conquered North Blue. But at the most critical moment. Advertisement. The former member of Roger Pirates and heir of the Devil Douglas Bullet came here. Bullet is a real 4 Emperors level powerhouse, and there are tens of thousands of clone soldiers under the command of Stussy and Reiju who have eaten artificial devil fruit. It is not easy to deal with. Fortunately, the former Marine Admiral Aokiji also came to North Blue to help them block Bullet. This day, when Aokiji and Bullet were fighting again, news of Joker's return came. Stussy's beautiful eyes were bright, and Sakura's peach-like mouth showed a charming smile. People know that you will be fine, Lord Joker. Reiju on the side, although trying to keep calm, there is a trace of relaxation and joy in the depths of his eyes, but it can't hide from Stussy. On the battlefield, Aokiji and Bullet also stopped because of this news. Ha ha ha, didn't that Joker die? Great, that's great. Bullet looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. He is a total combat lunatic, Ishin just to become the strongest in the world. Aokiji, let's save our victory and defeat later, Lousy is going to challenge the legendary Joker. See how powerful he is. After that, Bullet ran towards Dressrosa without looking back. Aokiji stood there for a while and murmured. You really are not dead, so in which direction will you take the world? Mr. Aokiji, Stussy said at this time, if you don't go to Master Joker, you have helped us so much. Master Joker will definitely thank you very much. Aokiji glanced at Stuss, Reiju, and the tens of thousands of clones, and shook his head. I am not helping you, let alone taking refuge in Joker. It's just that Bullet has destroyed several countries and massacred too many civilians. I have to stop it. After that, Aokiji got on his bicycle and left North Blue straight away. No one knows where Aokiji has gone. He is looking for real justice, and this justice has proven to be no longer on the side of world government and marine, and even less likely to be on the side of 4 emperors. As for whether it will be on Dover's side, Aokiji didn't know. Therefore, Aokiji will not go to Dover until everything is unclear. Similarly, Hawkeye, the world's #1 swordsman on board Shanks, is exactly what Aokiji thought. Chapter 204 Redhead's Reaction, Marine's Response. Advertisement. Chapter 204 Redhead's Reaction, Marine's Response. New World. The Red Hair Pirates' main ship, there was a dead silence. A month ago, the number of people with red hair bands in Marineford was the least, with less than 10 people. But each is a strong one, and even a red-haired brother. Although the redhead suffered the least trauma compared to the other 4 emperors, 2 brothers died in Marineford. Therefore, Red Hair Pirates has a lot of hatred against Dover. But after all, the Red Hair is not a villain like Kaido. He didn't take revenge on the people under Dover. Of course, the most important thing is that the Red Hair intuitively believes that the man is not that easy, death. At this moment, the newspaper in hand verified my conjecture. Hawkeye, he really is not dead, I am afraid that the world will make waves again. The Red Hair looked at the sky in the distance and sighed long. Hawkeye was silent for a while, but said, I'm afraid the wave will not last long. The red hair was stunned for a moment, and immediately reacted, and said with a laugh. Yes, since he is still alive, if he wants to conquer the world, who can resist it now? The words came out. The faces of the other members of Red Hair Pirates changed drastically. Captain, are we going to give in to that joker? He killed our 2 brothers. Never surrender to that man. The crew commotion. Red Hair fell silent. How could he not know the hatred between Dover and Dover, but what could he do? To avenge, or resist to the end. With the ghostly means of that man, I am afraid that these remaining brothers will all die, right? Beckman took a deep breath. He knew the redhead's thoughts and concerns. At this time, he needed his deputy captain to stabilize the military. Don't worry, everyone. Although Joker is invincible, it is not easy to rule the world. The provisional government established by Sengoku, Garp, Akainu, and others has gathered new combat power and should not be underestimated. Advertisement. The Revolutionary Army is also operating in South Blue, and it is said that it has taken control of more than a dozen countries. In addition, the heir of the devil, Bullet, the legendary great pirate Golden Lion, and the former Marine Admiral Zephyr are not strong men willing to be subdued. Joker has to settle these top-level powerhouses first before it is possible to rule the world. The voice fell, and the members suddenly became excited. Yeah, so many powerful men, so many forces, even if that Joker has 3 heads and 6 arms, it is enough for him to eat a pot. Ha ha ha, not only them, if you want to be the king of the world, you have to ask us Red Hair Pirates. The red hair was also awakened by Beckman's words. He couldn't sit still and had to do something. The red hair stood up and said loudly, everyone, the Joker's strength is unfathomable. We can neither take it lightly nor wait for the enemy to find the door. I decided to go to the Whitebeard Pirates to unite into an alliance. Unite with the Whitebeard Pirates. Although the members of the Whitebeard pirate group had the most casualties, none of the captains died, especially the strongest Whitebeard is still alive. This is the 2 strongest 4 emperors joining forces. Even the extremely powerful Joker must be scrupulous, right? Oh, Red Hair Pirates cheered immediately. The red hair looked at Hawkeye. What about you? What are you going to do? Hawkeye stood up and said. Let me be with you, the future is not yet clear, I still need to continue to observe. The redhead was relieved, but Hawkeye finally didn't stand on Joker's side. Marine headquarters. It is also the base where the temporary world government is located. The atmosphere is extremely depressing. All the powerful Marines that exist now are gathered here. There are elders who have retreated to the second line, such as Kong, Sengoku, Garp, and Crane. There are new Marine power corps, Marshal Sakazuki, Admiral Kizaru, Green Bull, and Virgo. There are Marine Reserve rookies, Momosugi, T-Dolphin, Eel, Smoker, Hina, etc. Vice Admiral and Rear Admiral. With so many powerful people gathered together, in the current world, it is still the #1 power in the real world. Advertisement. Seeking Flowers 0. However, the expressions on their faces at the moment were extremely solemn and ugly, even with a hint of panic. Just because. In the newspaper at the center of the table, news about that man is still alive. A former 7 warlords of the sea scared you like this. Jay ran. The new Marshal Akainu let out an angry shout. We have destroyed Marineford and Mariajoy in the hands of that man. This is an unprecedented shame for Marine. Can we continue to shrink back, bear the humiliation, and be a turtle? What? Point 0. The violent questioning made many people's faces flushed. This time, you must never back down. Must wash away Marineford's shame. The big deal is just death. For the justice behind us. Akainu is worthy of being a hardliner, and aroused Marine's blood and courage with his aggressive approach. But the return of blood and courage to blood courage, whether it can change reality or not depends on strength. Akainu looked at Sengoku and Kong. Do you have any ideas? Marine must never fail again this time. Sengoku took a deep breath, pulled his mind back from the shock of knowing that Dover was still alive, and meditated for a while and said. Although Doflamingo is strong, his whole cards were all revealed in the Battle of Marineford. We can formulate corresponding tactics based on these, and there should be no small chance of winning. Sengoku's mind turned so fast that he deserved to be called the resourceful general, and he thought of many ways in a flash. First, we must spread our forces across multiple islands, otherwise we will be trapped by the black birdcage, and we will have to wait to die. Second, we must find ancient weapon Pluton, and we must never let Doflamingo launch Pluton missiles again. Third, we must lead Doflamingo out alone, gather everyone's strength, besiege him, and consume him bit by bit. Chapter 205 Garp's Plan, Women's Shame. Advertisement. Sengoku's words are to the point, but how can they be so easy to implement? Without mentioning how to get Dover in the middle, let them besieged, the ancient weapon Pluton alone doesn't know where to find it. At this time, a sharp figure stood up and said, Pluton, leave it to me to find it. When everyone looked at it, they couldn't help but be overjoyed. It turned out to be the new admiral, the former Alabasta base chief Virgo, who has an excellent reputation within Marine. Well, I'll leave it to you, Virgo. Akainu said to Virgo gratefully. At this time, the first ones who dared to stand up and take the initiative to take the heavy responsibility were all Marine's loyal ministers. With a humble expression on Virgo's face, he slightly bowed slightly and said. This matter is due to Marine Admiral's responsibility. The sonorous, powerful, just and awe-inspiring words drew a look of worship. The older generations such as Sengoku and Garp sighed in their hearts. It is really rare to be able to support Marine regardless of their own safety at this time. For a while, they even thought that when Akainu abdicated, or the world situation stabilized, it would be better for a strong, righteous and non-extreme person like Virgo to be Martial Marine. However, no one knew that Virgo, who was praised and worshipped by Marine, was sneered in his heart. A group of ignorant idiots, still want to resist, and calculate young master. Sooner or later, I will personally kill you for young master. No one knows Wilgo's true thoughts, and the current progress is that someone at Pluton is looking for it, and then how to design the siege of Dover is left. Doflamingo is cunning like a fox, and the city is extremely deep. From his calculation of the 4 emperors and our Marine, we can see Amadara. I'm afraid he won't be fooled. The scene fell silent again. Yes, with that man's wisdom, how could he easily fall into their trap? Even Sengoku did not dare to pack tickets. Advertisement. At the critical moment, Garp made a voice. We don't need to rack our brains to calculate Doflamingo, he will get in by himself. What? Everyone was shocked. What does Garp Vice Admiral mean? Garp explained. The old man's hometown, East Blue, has been occupied by the man's men, do you all know? Sengoku and others nodded. East Blue is the weakest sea in the world. Without Garp's suppression, no force would be the opponent of Bellamy, Senor and other Donquixote family cadres. They occupied East Blue. Originally, the old man had to protect the windmill village, but at that time, the Golden Lion suddenly descended over East Blue and confronted Doflamingo's men. Originally, with the strength of the Golden Lion, Bellamy could be easily cleaned up, but Crocodile and Shiryu, who escaped from Impel Down, the extremely evil criminals, rushed over and fell into a stalemate with Golden Lion. Having said this, Sengoku instantly understood what Garp meant. You mean, we secretly helped Golden Lion and suppressed East Blue. With Doflamingo's temperament, we will definitely come over soon. Not bad. Garp clenched his fist. At that time, although Crocodile was still present, it was not a serious problem. We still had the absolute upper hand. So it is. The Marines suddenly realized that they were excited. Snapped. One person stood up abruptly, but it was Smoker. Leave it to me to handle East Blue. I was the chief of Logue Town. It's my negligence to lose East Blue. Thank you then, Smoker. Sengoku said in a deep voice. Marine tried all his brains and finally made a plan, but he didn't know it. As soon as the meeting ended, the news reached Dover's ears. Naturally, it was Wilgo's secret call. Advertisement. Master, young master, what do you plan to do? Do you want to use Pluton missiles to blow up all the people here first? Virgo asked respectfully. When he wanted to come, Sengoku and a group of Marines were purely delusional just now. He only had to pass the coordinates here to Queen Vivi and let her release 108 Pluton missiles to kill them all. Buddha howl. Dover smiled deeply and said. No, let them go. This is Marine's last chance. You have to give them some hope, right? Wilgo froze for a moment, and then said more respectfully. Master, young master, what you said is. Just hung up the phone. Another phone rang, but it was a secret phone worm. That is a phone worm that belongs to Stussy. Dover connected, and Stussy's sweet, dead voice came out immediately. Master Joker, why have you not answered the phone for such a long time? The victim was so worried that he thought that your news about your return was fake. Stussy's goblin, who came up to be babbled and acted like a baby. Dover is also accustomed to Stussy's character. I was a little busy last night. Why, hasn't North Blue's troubles been resolved yet? Busy. Stussy was keenly aware of something wrong, and his voice immediately became sour. It turns out that I forgot about me, a hardworking woman who was a cow and a horse. People are so pitiful. Dover couldn't help smiling a little bitterly. Although he knew Stussy was deliberate, he still coaxed Stussy with a few words. Stussy chuckled immediately, and talked about business contentedly. After the bullet heard the news of your return, he immediately went to see you, Lord Joker. Marine Admiral Aokiji, who helped us before, also left and disappeared. Chapter 206 Bulltv's Fujitora. Advertisement. Dover stayed in Dressrosa for 2 days, enjoying the gentleness of all the women. He was not in a hurry to go to East Blue. On the one hand, he made more preparations for Marine, and on the other hand, he was waiting for someone. Stussy's call from North Blue informed Dover of the status of North Blue. Including Aokiji's help in leaving, of course, the most important thing is that Roger's former crew member Bullet can't wait to challenge him. This day, when Dover was holding Robin's slender waist and telling her about the devil's body, JD looked far away and said lightly. Coming. Robin was thrilled by what Dover said, and he was also very curious about the history of the world government and celestial dragons. Since you have the power comparable to the gods, you can use all the devil fruit abilities, and you can travel through time and space, why can't you answer 11 the blank 100-year period? As for what Dover said was coming, referring to Bullet or some other enemy, Robin was not worried at all. This man, raising his hand, killed the 4 emperors of Ant Kaido, as if stomping to death. In this world, who else can be a man's opponent? What's more, Robin just learned from Dover that he has the power of a god, that is, to conquer the entire world. Dover replied with a smile. Although I can go back to the past and go to the future, the blank 100 years have been obscured by some mysterious power. If I guess right, I must find Raftel if I want to unlock this mystery. Raftel? Robin looked a little excited. Then you have to find 4 pieces of red historical text as soon as possible. When it comes to the hidden history of the world, Robin can hardly remain calm. As for the whereabouts of the 4 red historical texts, Dover had already known it. After all the matters were resolved, he would take them and head to Raftel, the ultimate island. Don't worry, I will do this sooner or later. Dover scratched Robin's fluorescent Chong nose, his figure flashed, but he took Robin to the sky above the desert island hundreds of miles away from Dressrosa. Below. Advertisement. An extremely tall and sturdy guy with bloodthirsty and fierce eyes is facing a blind swordsman. Who are you guys? Why are you blocking Lousy's way? Bullet clenched his fist. The blind swordsman was naturally Fujitora, who took refuge in Dover. Fujitora used his experience to feel the human breath, and said in a deep voice. Full of the smell of blood and beasts, people like you shouldn't exist in this world. Ha 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 ha. Bullet laughed wildly after hearing this. You blind dare to say that, Lousy. Don't worry, wait until Lousy kills you, then go to Joker. Next moment, Bullet slammed its foot and rushed out like a cannonball. Armament hockey, a fist that looked like a hill, blasted towards Fujitora. If it is an ordinary person, facing the blow of Bullet, it will not die and will be seriously injured. However, Fujitora's complexion remained unchanged, and when Bullet approached, the sheath in his hand suddenly pulled out. Buzz. A huge pressure suddenly fell on Bullet's head. Bullet's complexion changed, and his figure squatted. Demon fruit power. Gravity. Look down on this blind man. The strong pressure forced Bullet to stop and resist. But Bullet deserves to be a top-notch powerhouse. His tyrannical physical fitness quickly adapted to Fujitora's pressure. The bones all over his body creaked, and Bullet grinned and said. Advertisement. If it's only this level, Lousy would be disappointed. Armed color covers the whole body, Bullet continues to charge against gravity. Fujitora knows that the person who came is not good, and it is not a simple character. Pulling the knife in his hand, placing it horizontally, his voice is cold. Gravity knife tiger. The gravity reversed in an instant, turning into lateral gravity. And with the momentum of overwhelming the sky, bombarding out 290. Bullet didn't expect the other party to have such an unreasonable method. He was beaten upright by the tiger, and his body flew out involuntarily. It flew over 100 meters, and countless big trees and rocks were crushed. Boom. Smoke and dust are rising. For a long time. Ha 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 ha. Okay. Refreshing. Crazy laughter came from the end. Unexpectedly, there is such a strong guy under Joker. It seems that if you don't beat you, Lousy doesn't even have the qualifications to challenge Joker. Well, this trick was originally intended to be used against Joker, so let you know in advance. Immediately afterwards, I saw the bullet that was blown out, and I don't know when it was covered with a layer of mecha. And the surrounding soil, rocks, and trees are still constantly covering it, as if it merged with it. This is the power of Bullet's combined fruit. Chapter 207 Bullet with a dumb face. Advertisement. Bullet is a person with combined fruit ability, extremely powerful. In the theatrical version, in order to deal with him, Marine not only launched Buster Call, but Shichibukai also launched all of them in the era of terrible evil. Although Bullet eventually fell under the fist of the invincible theatrical version of Luffy, his strength is absolutely beyond doubt, it is a real Four Emperors level. I saw that Bullet used its full strength to activate the ability to combine fruits, and all the land and trees on the entire desert island were instantly absorbed by him. Seeing that the situation was not good, Fujitora waved his sword, and a rock at his feet flew him into the air. This is. A look of surprise appeared on Fujitora's face. He has a very wide range of sights and colors, and he can feel that Bullet has not only combined a desert island, but the scope of the combination is still expanding. It turned out to be 7 or 8 islands in a radius of more than 10 miles, all into one. A giant stone man with a height of thousands of feet suddenly appeared in front of him. Ha ha ha, Lousy is the strongest. Over the giant's head, Bullet's crazy laugh was heard. Immediately afterwards, the rock-eyed giant who was 1,000 feet high suddenly turned black. Armed color coverage, there is such a large range. It was Fujitora, and couldn't help feeling shocked. Such a large range of armed colors is rare in the world. Moreover, the giant made of islands will also become indestructible. In one blow, an island can definitely be destroyed. Troublesome. Fujitora took a deep breath. But the old man can't shrink back. This is Fujitora's first match since he voted for Dover. How could he let Bullet affect that adult? Fujitora didn't know that Dover was already standing above the clouds, watching the situation below. That person used to be a crew member on the One Piece ship, maybe he knew about Raftel. Robin, who was leaning in Dover's arms, looked down and said with red lips lightly. Even though Bullet made such a big move, Robin cared more about his former identity. After all, in Robin's mind, his own man is the supreme god, and it doesn't count as much to a powerful guy in front of his own man. In his hand, there should be the ultimate pointer to Raftel. Dover said, but since Raftel is so mysterious, how can it be recorded by a pointer, let alone I don't need to follow other people's routes. The plain tone contains self-confidence and pride. What about the ultimate pointer? What is the route that One Piece Roger has taken? What Dover wanted, he would take it himself. Robin smiled sweetly, just like 100 flowers in full bloom, so beautiful. Yes, for my own man, does it make any difference whether there is an ultimate pointer? Look down. Bullet, transformed into a huge black giant, fought with Fujitora. With every punch of Bullet, a huge wave is set off, and the sea is roaring. Fujitora is not a vegetarian either, the gravity fruit is urged to ultimate, and it can be manipulated even in sea water. It's not about pulling down familiar meteorites from the universe and bombarding Bullet's body. This old guy with blind eyes is so powerful that he is no longer under that Aokiji. Bullet, who was wrapped in the middle of the giant, looked a little ugly. He thought that once he used this trick, he could instantly defeat the opponent. But I didn't expect that Fujitora's strength is so powerful, it is impossible to defeat the opponent in a short time. Cloud. Advertisement. Dover's eyes flickered. The strengths of Fujitora and Bullet are among the best, so there is no need to continue to look at them. The next moment, Dover did not see any movements, but his and Robin's body disappeared in place, and when they reappeared, they were already in the center of the Bullet and Fujitora battle. Quote. Master Dover. When Fujitora saw Dover, he knelt on one knee respectfully. Old and incompetent, unable to defeat the enemy. Dover raised his hand, and an invisible force lifted Fujitora. No wonder you at this time. Gia ha 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 ha. Joker, are you finally willing to show up? The upright black giant laughed deafeningly. Lousy as Bullet, today I will defeat you and become the strongest in the world. When the voice fell, Bullet fully urged the black giant, raised his mountain-like fist, and blasted towards Dover. Be careful, Lord Dover. Fujitora's face changed, and Bullet's attack was even stronger than the one he had just hit with the promise. Dover's expression was indifferent, and even Robin in his arms did not change his expression at all. I saw that Dover extended a finger to the giant eye formed by Bullet, and its mountain-like fist of a country that could be destroyed suddenly collapsed into pieces of fine stones. The trend of disintegration continued to extend, spreading directly to the entire black giant. Boom. Just one breath. The terrifying black giant that towered into the clouds and was as big as 1,000 feet collapsed in an instant. It turned into rubble and fell into the sea. The figure of Bullet hiding in it came out. With a dumb face, I don't even know what happened. Forever. Chapter 208 The Angry Vivi, Pluton Ship Spirit. What's the matter? Bullet, who has appeared in its original form, has a dumbfounded look. What have you done? Bullet looked at the front in disbelief, the man who only extended a little finger. A sense of powerlessness has risen in my heart when there was once only one piece Roger. Dover glanced at Bullet and said faintly, I am the origin of the devil, and all abilities are just vain in front of me. In fact, it can be regarded as that Dover's finger has used a far more advanced combined fruit ability than Bullet. Naturally, the Big Mac created by Bullet's fit was easily disintegrated like paper in front of Dover. After a faint explanation, Dover didn't need to talk nonsense with Bullet anymore, a trace of dark power emerged from his fingertips. Bullet's face suddenly showed endless pain, and his body was torn apart by thousands of swords like 293. It hurts. Bullet curled up on the ground in pain, with a cold sweat all over his body, and his eyes were full of boundless incomprehension and fear. At first, he thought that his strength over the past few years had grown substantially compared to before. Even facing the former Captain Roger, he has great self-confidence. And when Roger died, Bullet came to Dover with confidence, wanting to become the strongest in the world. It's a pity now, he hadn't even touched a single vellus hair of the other party, even the other party just stretched out a finger and crushed himself. There is nothing to fight back. The gap is so big. The gap between mortals and gods. The distance that can never be made up. Bullet finally realized how ridiculous he was before. Advertisement. This Supreme Lord Joker is already beyond the ordinary, reaching another higher dimension that Captain Roger has not been able to touch. The dimension of the gods. Knowing this, Bullet no longer has any thoughts of resistance, and is full of endless awe of Dover. He endured the pain in his body and knelt on the ground religiously. Master Joker, please let me be under your command in the future. Bullet actually surrendered to Dover. Fujitora was shocked. He, who faced Bullet just now, knows how powerful this person is. However, in the hands of Lord Dover, Bullet is as helpless as the ant. Master Dover, you really are the savior who changed the world. Fujitora is even more grateful for his decision to come to Dover. When Dover heard Bullet's words of surrender, he retracted his fingers and wrapped Robin's slender waist. His figure disappeared in place. Only one indifferent word was left in place. There is a revolutionary army in South Blue. Bullet, please go and take a hit. Bullet was overjoyed, knowing that Joker was testing him, and kowtow. The little one understands that revolutionary army will definitely be destroyed. Dover returned to Dressrosa. Bullet is going to deal with the revolutionary army, and South Blue will naturally conquer. After ordering these matters, Dover bid farewell to the women and went to East Blue be bad to settle the Golden Lion and the Marines who calculated him. Space crack opening and closing. In the blink of an eye, Dover came to Alabasta. Before going to East Blue, it is natural to take a look at Vivi. Dover swept around the palace, but did not see Vivi. I felt a little bit and found that this little Nizi was actually in the palace. Now, Vivi wore a light blue tunic dress, and the outline of the girl's figure became more and more full. However, the girl was a little unhappy at this time. Facing the mirror of the dressing table, pouting his lips. Mingming, you said it's okay if we go to see Brother Dover. I heard that he is back, but he didn't come to see me for several days. Humph, bad brother. No one can see. Beside Vivi, there is a girl in a black tight leather jacket. The girl, it is the ship spirit of ancient weapon Pluton, Mingming. Mingming is the one who knows the mind of his owner Vivi best in this world, and Mingming's cold voice said. Master, if you want to do it, do it. HMPH, you are not a human being. Although you look like a girl, You don't have the emotion of a girl. Vivi lay on the table. Bingbing's face is always indifferent to the black cloth that can easily destroy a country and even the entire world. It is not that she is indifferent to Vivi, but that she is born like this. As ancient weapon, she has no emotional changes. I don't even understand Vivi's young girl feelings and grudges at the moment. Mingming was silent for a while, still didn't understand the master's meaning, tentatively said. You can contact the male owner by phone worm. Vivi is her master, and the master's husband Kun is naturally the male master. He still understands the relationship between human partners. Vivi was a little moved when he heard the words, but he was a little angry. He was angry that the bad brother didn't come to see him for so many days. Did he forget himself? Vivi is undergoing a fierce psychological struggle, and a voice JD rang from behind. Huh, is this Pluton's ship spirit, Vivi? With a deep voice, it was the bad brother who was thinking about it. Vivi turned around suddenly, her big sapphire eyes were filled with tears, and then he fell into Dover's arms. Mingming, bad brother, it's been so long since I came to see people, woo. Chapter 208 The creator of Pluton, where it started, Logue Town. Advertisement. Vivi's tone was full of resentment and anger. Tears filled his big eyes. Choo Choo was pitiful, and even more pitiful, even the butcher would look dumbfounded when he saw it. Dover brushed Vivi's slippery face with a big hand, tears passed away, and the warm voice comforted him for a while, making Vivi burst into laughter. Vivi hooked his arms around Dover's neck, and had two long beautiful jade-like legs wrapped around Dover's waist. Vivi asked. Brother Dover, where have you been these days? People are about to worry about. Dover briefly told his strange experience these days. Naturally, I skipped Shirahoshi of the Fishmen Island, and the situation in Dressrosa and the girls. Otherwise, Vivi's little vinegar jar, no less than sugar, would have to be overturned again. After listening to Dover's statement, Vivi's big sapphire blue eyes suddenly brightened like a gem. Then Brother Dover, you can use all the fruit's abilities now, and my dark fruit can also use it. Dover smiled and nodded. Vivi suddenly remembered something and was surprised. Then Mingming saw it too. By the way, Brother Dover, when you just came in, you called Mingming's name. The girl Vivi only reacted now. And the Pluton ship elves came over at this time. She looked at Dover, her face without the slightest emotional fluctuations, she showed an expression of awe. Dover is also observing Mingming. Now he is not like before. In addition to Vivi, he must be the Pluton ship wizard in the world. In other words, this Mingming was dressed in a black tight-fitting leather jacket, and his whole body was rippling with cold and dark colors, and he looked like a cold-blooded girl agent or a killer in a Dover movie. However, such a cold, iceberg-like girl suddenly knelt down on one knee when she was 3 steps away from Dover. Advertisement. Subordinate Mingming, see the master. The sudden sound made Vivi jump off Dover, and looked at Mingming in astonishment. Mingming, what are you doing? It stands to reason that Mingming has always only called her master. Before, she was called the male master of Brother Dover. Although it was only a word difference, there was a primary and secondary distinction. But why is Mingming suddenly changed now? The voice of the spirit ship trembling. Mistress Vivi, you are the descendant of my founder, with the purest blood, so you are the only person in the world who can order and see me. But now, the creator of me is right in front of my eyes, please forgive me that Mingming can no longer be regarded as the first master. The creator of the creation. Do you mean Brother Dover? Vivi was dumbfounded, completely confused. And Dover also flashed his eyes, with a hint of comprehension. Mingming just said that Vivi is the descendant of the founder, and Vivi is the celestial dragons, and celestial dragons are actually the descendants of the devil. In other words, the demons who created ancient weapon Pluton are actually. And Dover refined the demon deity. At this moment, he is equivalent to a new demon, and it is of course for Mingming to regard him as the real master. Unexpectedly, the people who created this ancient Pluton were actually demons, the ancestors of those celestial dragons. But this is reasonable. Pluton is the darkest thing in the world, and it is indeed of the same origin as the devil. Under Dover's explanation, Vivi finally understood the cause and effect. Immediately, Hong Yanyan's little mouth pursed, pretending to be angry. HMPH, even people's Mingming has taken refuge in you, Brother Dover, you are really bad brother. Dover looked at Vivi's so cute and beautiful appearance, and his heart moved, and immediately the endless darkness poured in, covering the entire palace. Advertisement. Seeking flowers 0. Mingming, who was kneeling on the ground, couldn't help flushing on his face. Until she was also drawn in by an unquestionable big hand. The next day, Vivi's face was radiant and dazzling, as youthful as a porcelain doll made of water, tightly holding the arm of the man next to him, and couldn't bear to part for a moment. And the Pluton ship spirit who followed behind, looked at the man's back, and looked affectionate. Dover embraced Vivi's small waist with one hand, and with the other hand he pushed Mingming into his arms, and smiled slightly. Let's go to East Blue, and see the legendary Golden Lion and Marine's tricks. At the same time, East Blue, Logue Town. This is the place where Roger was executed, the beginning of the era of great pirates. Originally, Smoker had been garrisoned here, but it had already fallen into the hands of the Donquixote family. But soon, the legendary big pirate Golden Lion also took a fancy to this place, and started a earth-shattering battle with the cadres of the Donquixote family. At first, the Golden Lion was extremely powerful. Even if the cadres of the Donquixote family were not weak, they were defeated steadily. Fortunately, Crocodile, Shiryu and others from Impel Down arrived and blocked the Golden Lion. The two sides are in a stalemate. At a critical moment, the original Marine chief Smoker suddenly returned, attacked the Donquixote family, and broke the deadlock. Naturally, Golden Lion will not let go of this good opportunity and launched a fierce attack on Logue Town. And from a very hidden place here, all of Marine's top combat powers are tightly surrounding Logue Town. They are waiting for the man to appear. Chapter 209 Nami's Experience, Tashigi's Dream Monster. Advertisement. Logue Town. The Golden Lion was floating in the air, his eyes clear. You guys, if you don't surrender, Lousy will destroy the entire island. With the ability of the Golden Lion fruit, even the entire island of Logue Town can be easily lifted to the sky and destroyed. However, because this is where Roger died, Golden Lion didn't want to really ruin it. If you can do it, let's try it. Crocodile grinned coldly with his cigarette in his mouth. Aside, Shiryu of Rain pulled out the thunderstorm and grinned. Golden Lion, do you remember Lousy? When you were locked in Impel Down, Lousy had long thought of meeting you. 293. The evil king, San Juan Wolf and others also laughed wildly, reminiscing with Golden Lion. After all, they are equivalent to former inmates. At this time, Bellamy said, Golden Lion, it is you who should surrender. That lord has returned, and you are here purely looking for death. Also, Miss Nami is in your hands too. Send her back quickly, otherwise, you will die and look ugly. When Dover had just taken over the kingdom of Arlong, he took a look at Nami and told Bellamy to let him learn more about sailing, which might be useful in the future. Bellamy didn't dare to neglect, and Vice Admiral Nami regarded Nami as a woman that adults admired. He respected and rehabilitated Nami, which made Nami deeply grateful to the people of Kokoja village. Then, Bellamy found countless sailing illustrations for Nami, but Nami also had her own ideas. She thought it was difficult to learn real sailing knowledge on the island alone, so she proposed to go sailing around the sea. When it was, the entire East Blue and even the first half of the Grand Line were full of the Donquixote family. There was no danger, so Bellamy sent elite men to protect Nami and set sail. However, I never expected that Nami completed the sea voyage and unexpectedly went to the Sky Island, which specializes in climate change, and learned more advanced navigation techniques. Here, when Nami Master got the technology to return to Koko, he ran into the Golden Lion. Golden Lion took a fancy to Nami's sailing ability, thinking that she might find Raftel, the ultimate island, and forcibly left Nami on her ship. Advertisement. Thus, Bellamy just had the above paragraph. Seeing that the other party not only refused to admit defeat, but was so rampant, Golden Lion's face became extremely difficult to look. The two famous knives that replaced his legs suddenly waved. His complexion healed. If that's the case, then go to death. Two huge sword beams whizzed out and slashed towards Logue Town. How did Golden Lion not know the news of Dover's return, but who was he? The legendary big thief Golden Lion Shiki who dared to fight Roger and Whitebeard. If it is because of a person's fame that he is frightened and flees, wouldn't his Golden Lion eye lose his reputation? Not to mention, this is where Roger died, and Roger is still watching his jokes in the sky. Golden Lion fell into a rage, madly dancing his swords under his feet, and numerous huge slashes shot out. Shiryu raised the knife and forcibly tore the slash that flew towards him. Then, he jumped to the sky and gave Golden Lion a huge slash. Golden Lion laughed wildly. Want to challenge Lousy? Let's practice for another 100 years. The battle between the two sides broke out in a sudden. On the coast, the warship led by Smoker was on the sea, and Smoker severely ordered, fire and kill these pirates. The cannon roars. For a time, the flames of war are flying. Behind Smoker, Tashigi, with a graceful and bumpy physique, tightly held the famous knife in his hand. Xiao Yishiu, a drop of cold overflowed from Bai Jay's jade forehead. Tashigi knew that Smoker Captain was not really to kill those pirates, but to lure that man to the bait. When Tashigi thought of that man, he might be coming soon, he couldn't hold back the throbbing in his heart. Advertisement. That day, on Marineford, Tashigi's beautiful eyes stared at the sky, the figure of the godlike man. With every gesture, the Marine Four Emperors will be trapped in desperation. Pointing towards the sky, the Pluton missile that evoked the destruction of the world. When the thunder sound exploded, the stars were picked from the universe. Destroyed Mariajoy and even Red Line. The scene at that time left an indelible impression on Tashigi. In her heart, Dover seemed to be a dream demon. While Tashigi was in a trance. Just when Golden Lion slashed crazy and wanted to kill everyone. Just as Marine's warship fired countless shells. Without warning. The space seems to freeze. All the slashes and shells stayed in the air at 0.3%, and they couldn't move at all. The expressions on people's faces also kept the same as before, just like clay sculptures. Even the breeze stopped. An unspeakable figure appeared in the air. That figure could not be described in words, as if it contained the majesty of ruining the world, and as if it were just an ordinary person. And the beautiful girl leaning on that man's arms is also rare in the world, she is unparalleled. Next moment, I saw the man speak faintly. Since we are going to shoot, let's go together, why hide your head and show your tail, Marine? Chapter 210 Sengoku and Golden Lion join forces, Wilgo takes the initiative to expose. Advertisement. Sengoku, Akainu and others who were hiding in the dark were shocked. They were discovered, or did Dover already know their plan? But now, there is no time to think about so much. Akainu snorted. If that's the case, then don't stop doing it, go up and kill the world's greatest scourge. In Akainu's mind, Dover has long become the most evil person in the world above the revolutionary dragon. Although Sengoku and Garp are extremely disturbed, there is no way at this moment, they can only make a desperate move. Fortunately, they did not bring many ordinary marines this time. Because they know that no matter how many ordinary seamen are in front of that man, it doesn't make any sense. If they are still not the man's opponent together, then only them will die. Do it. Marine's life and death is today. 11. Over Logue Town. When Dover's voice fell, the solidified space finally began to flow. Below, Bellamy, Crocodile, Shiryu and others knelt on the ground quickly. Master Joker. Just now, Dover's move space solidified really made them fearful and worshipped. They know that the adults at this moment are stronger than before. Golden Lion's face changed drastically. Freezing space. This method can only be used by the former Captain Rocks. It is not difficult to guess from Golden Lion's words that the rocks that dominated the era before Roger were actually capable of space fruit. Advertisement. However, even Captain Rocks, the space that can be solidified does not have such a large range, and it can only last for 3 seconds at most. The expression on Golden Lion's face showed an extreme horror. There is also extreme puzzlement and confusion. Isn't that man the ability of string fruit? Why would he use the ability of space fruit? It is simply not in line with common sense. On the marine warship on the sea, Smoker looked extremely ugly. Seeing this man again, his heart still couldn't help trembling. The strength gap between the two sides is too big. But Tashigi behind him, on the contrary, seemed to be relieved, his beautiful eyes staring at the man in the sky blankly. He has finally come, and his breath seems to be different from before. Tashigi thought silently, inexplicably no longer the fear he had before. Maybe, she has already guessed the final result, so there is no need to worry about it anymore. Shoo. At this time, several cracking sounds sounded. I saw a large group of top-notch powerhouses with great momentum appeared. It was Golden Lion who looked at it and couldn't help but breathe in the air. Sengoku, Garp, Kong, Akainu, Kizaru, Virgo, Green Bull, Magellan Marine, this is the highest combat power of all. They planned to reach this point long ago. Golden Lion couldn't help being shocked by Marine's big hand, but also a little bit of fortunate. With so many powerful men, plus oneself, even if the Joker somehow gained the power of the space fruit, it would certainly not be their opponent. Long time no see, Sengoku, Garp. Golden Lion took the initiative to say hello. Golden Lion was once scored and impelled down by Sengoku and Garp, which is considered an old enemy. But now, the two sides are unanimous, regardless of previous quarrels. Sengoku said, Golden Lion, we will talk about our business later, now we will join forces to deal with that man. Advertisement. Golden Lion laughed loudly. Lousy also has this intention. That guy's strength is no longer what humans can have. The two parties work together to deal with Dover together. Sengoku looked at the man who personally destroyed the Marine headquarters, and said solemnly. Doflamingo, the old man admits that you are invincible in the world, but all your whole cards have been used on Marineford. We have all prepared and will not follow your way. Dover stood with his hand in hand, swept the world's top powerhouse ahead, and said lightly. Really, it's different now, I don't need any whole cards anymore. Golden Lion yelled, hey, Sengoku, I have to remind you, that guy now has the power of space fruit. What? Garp Kong looked surprised. That's the ability of rocks. Although the fruit of space 293 is strong, if Haki is strong enough, he can break free of his restraints forcibly. Garp said solemnly. Everyone present, his Haki is undoubtedly the top, with Garp vocalizing, everyone feels a little relieved. At this time, Vivi, who was leaning against Dover's arms, pouted disdainfully. These old men are really stupid. By the way, Mr. Virgo, there is no need to make false claims with them now, right, Brother Dover? Dover scratched Vivi's little white nose. This girl wanted to blow the morale of the opponent. Sure enough, as soon as Vivi's voice fell, Marine's face suddenly changed. Looking at Virgo, who has always been expressionless. Virgo's solemn face finally showed a sly smile at this time. After the figure shook, he came to Dover, knelt on one knee, and said in his mouth. Young master, his subordinates are incompetent. Although they have become Marine Admiral, they can't kill them all. I have to trouble you to do it yourself. Chapter 211 The world's top powerhouses do their best. Advertisement. Chapter 212 The world's top powerhouses do their best. Virgo, you traitor. The most furious is Akainu. A few days ago, Wilgo took the initiative to come forward and said he wanted to find Pluton, and Akainu was very grateful for it. But no one knew that Virgo turned out to be an undercover lurking inside Marine. And their previous plan, I am afraid that Virgo had already leaked it. At this moment, it seems that all their plans and calculations have become a joke. Doflamingo of damn it. Virgo of damn it. Marine's side was furious, and at the same time morale was greatly reduced. Before the war, the admiral of one's own side became the opponent's person. Can this continue to be fought? Sengoku, you Marine are really losing the chain at a critical moment. Golden Lion laughed. Sengoku's face was also quite ugly, and immediately took a deep breath. It's not the time to say this, today is the final decisive battle, no matter what happens, we all have despair of death. Akainu yelled, you must kill Joker, otherwise, the world will be over. Boom. The war is on the verge. Marine must go to war when morale has not fallen to the bottom. The most aggressive Akainu attacked first. Great eruption. A huge magma fist blasted out. Lava fruit, known as the most powerful fruit in the world. The blazing high temperature is enough to melt the earth and icebergs. Advertisement. Even the sea water below is boiling. However, such a terrifying attack automatically disappeared when Dover was still 100 meters away. It's the power of space fruit. It must be cracked with hockey. Garp stood up, and the tyrannical armament hockey spread. Other top powerhouses have also used hockey to break the space. Golden Lion also knows that we must work together with Marine at this time, and we will deal with Joker first. For a time, nearly double-digit world's top powerhouses madly released their hockey. The wind and clouds change color. The sea is churning. People felt a powerful pressure on their heads, and they could hardly help kneel down. However, these fusion of strong hockey, only half of the sky is raging. The sky where the other half belonged to Dover was calm, and there was no movement at all. Obviously, Dover, on his own, can compete with the hockey of so many top powerhouses. Tashigi's heart is extremely shaken. This kind of power, this world can only be possessed by that man. And Smoker can't bear the huge pressure, half kneeling on the ground. How can it be? His hockey, when did he become so powerful? Garp couldn't believe it, he was the only one who had played against Dover personally. Knowing that although the opponent hockey is strong, it is not yet boundless. According to his earlier estimates, with so many of them, they should be enough to beat Dover's hockey. However, in the current situation, the other party did not use any strength, and easily resisted their fusion hockey. Everyone's expressions have changed drastically. A feeling of extreme anxiety came to my heart. Advertisement. At this time, Dover's faint voice came out. Quote. The gap between us is equivalent to a giant and an ant. No matter how many ants are added together, a giant can trample to death with 1 foot. What did you say? Garp's eyes widened. The concept of immortal doesn't apply to me anymore, you remnants of the old age, it's time to be cleared. In the next moment, boundless darkness surged from behind Dover. The sun's rays are completely covered. Eternal night comes. Everything will be swallowed. Not good. This is the power of dark fruit. With no good, string fruit, there is still space fruit, why is there still dark fruit? This is impossible. Is it going to kill me? Rao is a top powerhouse, and he can't stand the blow, and his defense collapses. Don't sit still. Sengoku roared. Turn into a golden Buddha. The blazing golden light brought a ray of light. Akainu is surrounded by magma. Golden Lion's crazy urging ability, countless islands were solidified by him into a giant lion. All the top powerhouses have done their best at this moment. Fight to the death with Dover. Chapter 212 A Battle Without Suspense, the relationship between Kuina and Tashigi. Advertisement. Sengoku, Garp, Kong, Akainu, Kizaru, Green Bull, Magellan, plus Golden Lion. With so many top powerhouses going all out, one can imagine the vastness and Hongdae of that kind of scene. The sky is torn apart. The sea is cut into pieces. Countless islands were shattered, and the birds and beasts jumped on the ground and trembled. The Sea Kings thousands of miles away were all frightened and fled further away. The entire Logue town is full of solemn and extremely depressive atmosphere. Even Shiryu, Crocodile and others were solemn and cold sweat on their foreheads. Such a scene is rare in the world. Yes, Marine and Golden Lion, we have to deal with Lord Dover together. Are we going to help? Hehe, do you think it is necessary? Going up is not to help, it is probably to add confusion to Lord Joker. Everyone looked up to the sky and their master piously, the man who always looked calm, like a god. Around that man, there was a boundless and deep horrible darkness. Whether it is the air or the attacks of the top powerhouses, it is covered by darkness 293, and it immediately seems to be swallowed in, disappearing without a shadow. I didn't even startle any waves. How can this be? Our attack has no effect at all. Akainu was shocked and couldn't believe his eyes. Hockey has no effect either. Garp has a messy beard. The old man's shock wave is like mud entering the sea, no response. The voice of Sengoku, who transformed into a great Buddha, finally became alarmed. Impossible. Lousy Lion Fruit's ability can't even shake the opponent a bit. Golden Lion's eyes were about to bulge out. He has always regarded himself very high, thinking that except Roger, everyone else is rubbish. Even Dover seems to him that although extremely powerful, his Golden Lion may not be without a battle. But now, the sight in front of him has collapsed his outlook on the world and life. Advertisement. With the skills he used with all his strength, coupled with be bad, so many top powerhouses, the opponent didn't even move his brows, and it was easily resolved. No, not to resolve. It was clearly swallowed by the opponent's darkness. It became the nourishment of the opponent's darkness. Vivi, leaning in Dover's arms, with big sapphire eyes full of little stars, said admiringly. Brother Dover, your ability to control darkness is even more powerful than my true ability of dark fruit. Dover smiled slightly. It seemed that doing what was in front of him was just a trivial matter for him. Dover faintly glanced at Sengoku, Golden Lion and others, and spoke indifferently. It's up to now, you should return to dust and dirt, and the new era will be under my control from now on. As Dover's voice fell, the speed of the spread of darkness suddenly accelerated several times. Buzz. The whole world was covered by darkness in an instant. There is no light in the sky and the earth. Oops. Not good. Run away. In the face of this overwhelming darkness, even the top powerhouses have lost their fighting spirit. They were horrified and couldn't help but want to escape. But it was too late. Under the darkness, everyone was surrounded. Humming. In the void, there seemed to be a cry of death. It heralds the end of a great world. I don't know how long it has been. When the sun drank again. Marine, golden lion, everyone has disappeared, and all traces have been swept away, as if there is no such thing in this world. On the sea, those marine warships also disappeared without a trace. There is only one person left. That is, Tashigi. Advertisement. People were stunned by Dover's horrible methods, and could not recover for a long time. God, the King of Eternity, the Supreme King. Bellamy knelt down tremblingly. Virgo, the criminals who escaped from him fell down, all knelt on the ground, their faces on the ground, in awe and surrender. But Dover stretched out his hand and pulled the dazed Tashigi closer. Tashigi stared at the man who was close to Chi-Chi in a daze. Jiaochu couldn't help trembling, and was even more intensely puzzled. He killed everyone, including Smoker Captain. However, he was the only one who let go. Did he fall in love with himself? No, it's impossible. Tashigi rejected this absurd idea. What kind of woman does the strongest and most powerful man in the world want? She Tashigi is beautiful, but how can she be able to fascinate such a man? What's more, the Queen Vivi in the other's arms is even more beautiful and lovely than her. Why, at this time, Vivi pursed her red mouth and hummed. Bad brother, find another little vixen. Tashigi's pretty face blushed when he heard the words. Is it possible that the other party really fell in love with him? Dover squeezed Vivi's playful face, full of deep words, and said from his mouth. You look very similar to a girl named Kuina, you can even be said to be exactly the same. What? Tashigi was taken aback, never expected that Dover would say such a thing. Are you her reincarnation? Or, is it a kind of reincarnation? Chapter 213 Nami and Nokigao, the Revolutionary Army surrenders. Advertisement. Although Dover's current strength is comparable to that of the gods, he is truly omnipotent. But there are some things that he can't do yet. Such as the matter of causal reincarnation. That seems to be beyond the scope of the devil's jurisdiction. Dover also couldn't get involved in that area. At the moment, Tashigi and Kuina look so similar, maybe there is the cause and effect of reincarnation in it. This is why Dover left Tashigi alone. Next, the Golden Lion is dead, the Marine's top combat power is all destroyed, and the remaining forces are handed over to Virgo and Bellamy to solve it. With a move, Dover came to the old nest of Golden Lion, a floating island. However, due to the death of Golden Lion, the ability naturally became invalid, and soon it was about to fall. But when Dover set foot on this island, the floating sky island quickly stabilized. A beautiful girl with orange hair turned red when she looked at the man she hadn't seen for many years. She seemed to want to rush into the man's arms and cry, but she was timid and lacking courage. The girl was naturally caught by the Golden Lion, Nami, who had sailed for several years. Over the years, Nami has become more and more beautiful. Especially for that very large figure, among the women around Dover, I am afraid that only Robin can match it. Dover stretched out his big hand and said softly. Come. Nami's pretty face flushed suddenly, but his body involuntarily rushed into Dover's arms. Vivi pursed his mouth at this moment. How come there are so many vixens, one is more prettier than one? Even so, there is not much dissatisfaction in my heart. In Vivi's mind, her brother Dover is the best and most perfect man in the world, and it is normal to have more women. It's just that brother Dover's love for himself can't be less than before. Naturally, Dover would not care about this and lose the other. Advertisement. While feeling the trembling of Nami's beautiful body, he nodded on Vivi's porcelain white forehead. Vivi immediately closed his eyes comfortably. That night, Dover took Vivi, Nami, Tashigi, and Mingming, who followed closely, to Kokoja village. The two sisters Nami and Nuochigao had not seen each other for many years, and they hugged each other and wept. When Nuohigo saw Dover for the first time, he was naturally awed and surprised. Naturally, the awe was due to Dover's terrifying strength, but the surprising thing was that Dover did not leak any haki and evil from his body. He looks like a good guy, he's so handsome. Night. When Nami and Nozagao were alone, thinking about the experiences of these years, it was like dreaming. Hey, Nami, what would happen to us if we didn't have that man? But what would happen to Coco West Press? Probably will continue to be squeezed by Arlong. In that case, that man is actually our benefactor. Nami fell silent for a while, and then remembered that she was close to the man's arms during the day, and her pretty face flushed. Nuochigao noticed this and joked. You won't like him anymore. How can Nami's face suddenly resemble a red apple, just about to deny it, but suddenly heard something strange. Both women couldn't help being a little unnatural. Now, Nami, shall we go and see? East Blue's matter is resolved. There was also a news from South Blue that surprised Dover. The leader of the Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Dragon, surrendered without a fight. Interesting. Even if Dover is planning to go to South Blue, meet the legendary leader of the Revolutionary Army. As for the daughters of Vivi, Mingming, Nami, Tashigi, and Nuochigao, Dover asked them to return to Dressrosa first. Seeking flowers 0. The girls are reluctant to give up, and it has been several hours. Advertisement. When Dover left, Kakuzu couldn't help but smile bitterly. As I have more and more women, fortunately my energy is getting more and more vigorous, otherwise I really can't cope with it. Don't mention this. Besides, the next moment Dover traveled through the space and came to South Blue. sitting on the high throne. Fujitora and Bullet knelt down. The same goes for Monkey D. Dragon. Dover looked at the respectful dragon, raised his eyebrows, and asked. Dragon, you dare to fight against the world government for so many years, why would you surrender to me? How could a character like Long surrender because of the difference in strength or fear of death? There must be a greater reason. This is why Dover decided to meet the dragon. Monkey D. Dragon knelt on the ground, and Sabo, the next generation successor of the revolutionary army he had trained, also knelt behind him. Long respectful voice said, I see the future. The evil world government era has passed. The future world will be in the hands of adults and become more beautiful than ever. See the future. Does Long actually have such an ability? Dover traveled through time and space and immediately understood the cause and effect. It turns out that the dragon is the fruit of this generation, and the level of development is much stronger than that of Xiaozi's mother, Kazuki, and can already clearly predict the future. When the dragon sees that the future world will belong to Dover, and the world is many times better than in the hands of celestial dragons, the dragon will naturally no longer resist. Everything was explained. Dover nodded, but he didn't have the idea of destroying the revolutionary army. These people can be destroyed by turning his palms, and they are not a threat at all. Then, Dover ordered. The revolutionary army followed Fujitora and others to conquer the last West Blue. Chapter 214 Finale 1. Advertisement. With Dover's current strength, there is no force that can be resisted in the four seas. Even the last revolutionary army surrendered, and the rest of the demons and demons who had once ambitions were completely reduced to trivial characters, and Fujitora and others were enough to deal with it. Dover has one last big thing to do. That is to go to the ultimate island Raftel. Although he has basically understood the secrets of the world government, he still needs to go to the ultimate island to verify some specific circumstances. However, before going to Raftel, a pirate ship approached him. That is the Nine-Snake pirate ship. When Dover disappeared over Marineford on the same day, Hancock desperately searched for Dover in the waters. The result was nothing. Just as Hancock was about to die, he suddenly received the news of Dover's return. Hancock cried with joy, leave everything immediately and come to see Dover. Dover stood with his hand in hand. Look at the woman in Cheongsam on the deck of the pirate ship. This woman was as beautiful as he remembered. In terms of beauty alone, among the women around Dover, only Robin and Monet can be compared to Hancock's beauty. Robin's skin is full of texture, and Monet is by Jai Sai Shui, like milk. And Hancock, there is no beauty in the whole body, it is a perfect masterpiece of God. Those long, straight legs, cold red lips, and black hair hanging down from the tip of the buttocks. Such a natural but ultimate beauty is not comparable to the face of future generations. Hancock looked up at the sky, and the moment he saw Dover's figure, mist appeared in his beautiful eyes. Without hesitation, Hancock jumped and rushed straight into Dover's arms. The two younger sisters of the Empress, Sandersonia and Marigold, stared dumbfounded at their old sister, who was extremely cold in the past, but at this time they nestled in the arms of the adult like a bird. Advertisement. After the shock, I was overjoyed for my sister. Only a man like Lord Dover can match the only elder sister in the world. Behind Dover, Vivi, Nami and other women are quite tasteful. Looking at the pirate Empress in Dover's arms with a bad look. But they didn't say much, after all, they had to admit the beauty of the Empress. Even Vivi, who has always been wayward and likes to be coquettish, just bulged his cheeks at this time, staring at Hancock's figure, and thought sourly. Legs are amazing. They are big. People or Brother Dover's favorite little padded jacket. Not to mention the thoughts of the women. He said that Hancock held Dover tightly for a long time, and finally came back to his senses, which was in full view. The inner Tsunere instantly made Hancock's face flushed. Without a word, he let go of Dover, and he went straight back to the pirate ship and got into the boudoir. No one was seen. Dover let out a laugh. This woman is really shy enough for Tsunere. Dover said to Vivi and other women, you go back first. Although Vivi was jealous, he nodded obediently. Brother Dover's words were everything. Then, Dover's figure flashed, and he immediately came to Hancock's boudoir. I saw Hancock buried his head in the quilt like an ostrich, as if he did not dare to see anyone. It's just that Hancock's posture ignores his head and his wrists. Her figure is already perfect. Such a posture shows her body vividly and vividly. Rao is Dover who has seen so many beauties, and he can't help but admire him with great admiration. Hancock noticed Dover's arrival, and although she did not look back, she also knew that Dover's gaze carried herself like fire. A hint of pride rose in my heart, my own beauty, even Dover would be obsessed with myself. Advertisement. However, whether Hancock is more obsessed with Dover or Dover is more obsessed with Hancock, only Hancock knows. Next, all natural water is gathered together. Hancock's face was red, letting Dover do it. Early the next morning, Dover woke up, but the peerless beauty beside his pillow was no longer there. Dover opened his eyes and found that Hancock had been dressed neatly for some time, sitting on a chair not far away, staring at himself in a daze. Seeing his eyes look over, Hancock turned his face and said, they have cooked too much breakfast, and the concubine can't finish it. You can eat it first. On the table next to the chair, there are a lot of delicacies, all top ingredients. With so many delicacies, there is no trace of being touched, it is impossible to have more. At this time, Dover heard the two sisters of the Empress whispering outside. It's incredible. I saw my sister cooking in the kitchen early in the morning. God, my sister has never cooked before. 0.3. Yeah, I have done so much. The answer is revealed. These delicacies are not extra, they were made by Hancock himself. Even Dover could not help but be moved for a while. Looking at Hancock's pretty face, his ears were red. Obviously, Hancock also heard the conversation between the two sisters outside the door, and knew that Dover could not be hidden. These two women with long tongues have to teach them a lesson when they go back. Hancock was very angry. Seeing Tsunere's extreme beauty in front of him, Dover only thought Hancock was so cute. Chapter 215 Finale 2. Advertisement. The female emperor's complexion was crimson. Glamorous can't be anything. As the world's #1 beauty, Hancock's beauty is beyond doubt. And last night, Dover knew that Hancock was not only not on the surface, but also more beautiful on the inside. It was really blessed by heaven, and all kinds of costs were unique. And the beauty of it, only Dover can know. Now, Hancock clearly ignored his weakness and got up early to make a big meal for Dover. But I am embarrassed to admit it, and instead said that someone else did it. In this way, Tsunere's lovely empress made Dover a touch of affection. Seeing Hancock's blushing cheeks, Dover moved in his heart and stepped forward to hug Hancock. Then sit on the chair and let Hancock sit on his lap. Started breakfast just like this. You give me a bite for the two of you, and I give you a bite, just like a little couple. In Hancock's heart, it was as sweet as eating honey, and even Tsunere and shyness were forgotten. After eating breakfast 11, it is already 3 pulls in the day. Although the beauty is like jade, the Coon King is not in early rain. But Dover still has one last thing to do. He took Hancock, Nami, and Vivi to the Fishman Island. Directly with great ability, the entire the Fishman Island floated above the sea. The Fishman Island's 1,000-year aspiration has finally come true. The king of the Fishman Island Neptune and his sons are grateful to Dover and call Dover the god of the Fishman Island. Then, the Murloc princess Shirahoshi also followed Dover to the final island, Raftel. Dover and the others were on board the Pluton battleship. Advertisement. The pitch-black huge Pluton battleship made everyone who saw it for the first time be shocked from ear to ear. As the owner of Pluton, Vivi proudly raised his small chin. In this regard, no matter how many women there are around Brother Dover, they are still inferior to them. The Pluton battleship floats on the sea, fast, and enters the new world in the blink of an eye. Back to Dressrosa. Dover also picked up Robin, Monet and other women. When Granger saw that young master brought so many women back, her little mouth was pouted to the sky. After that, Dover also took in Stussy, Lei Mei, as well as Xiaozi, Yamato, and even Pudding, the aunt's daughter, who were far away in Wanokuni. In this way, the women who had a relationship with Dover were all on the Pluton battleship. Dover is like an emperor, surrounded by many concubines, heading for the final island. Now, on the deck of the Pluton battleship, seeing so many Yin-Yang and Yan-Yan, Robin could not help but open his red lips in surprise. I couldn't help but confess that I was being pounded and pinched by the girls like Baby 5, Vivi and so on, and Dover, who was extremely comfortable, glanced at it and hummed. This is comfortable enough, all the beauties in the sea belong to you. Dover grinned. He stretched out his big hand and hugged Robin's weak and boneless waist. The other big hand stopped Monet who had skin Saishue. He sighed comfortably and smiled. To have you with me is something I never even dared to think of in my previous life. Yes, in the last life, Dover was just an ordinary young man on the earth. How did you ever think that one day, there will be so many beauties with him? A slender finger covered Dover's mouth. Advertisement. Robin said emotionally. Don't say that, it is our blessing to be by your side. Master, young master, you are the eternal god in Monet's mind. It is the merit that Monet has cultivated in his last life to be with you. Hear the words of the two women. The women around him also talked heartily. Dover thinks that it is a blessing to have so many beauties of them. They have their own experiences, so why don't they think that being with Dover is the greatest fortune? Dove laughed and embraced the girls. Yeah, I have thought a lot, we will always be happy together. Now, let us work together to solve the last mystery of this world. The final mystery, that is, 100 years of blankness, that is, the existence of a huge kingdom, that is, the truth that the world government desperately concealed. The girls are all excited. Being able to witness the final secret with the man beside him is enough to spread history. Brother Dover, you haven't told us yet, where did you go after you disappeared that day? Vivi asked now. The beautiful eyes of the girls all looked over at once. Yes, Dover suddenly disappeared over Marineford that day. Where did he go? Dover didn't need to hide anything from the woman he was closest to. He directly talked about the mysterious space and the demon's corpse. Robin was shocked and lost his voice. Devil, so the so-called devil fruit is turned from a drop of blood on the devil's body. So, how powerful was that demon before he was alive? This question is simple, because after refining the devil's body, Dover's strength is no less than that of the devil, and even more. Where did the devil come from, and what is the history? Go to the final island, everything can be revealed. Dover's eyes were like stars, deep and boundless. Chapter 216 Finale Final. Advertisement. What is the biggest secret of Pirate World? One Piece. Raftel. The origin of I Am. The root of devil fruit. Even, the existence of lunar people. These secrets that have been hidden for countless years, some Dover already knows. Some are still buried in the darkest corners of history. Anyway, today, all the puzzles are about to be revealed. The ultimate island, Raftel, is not easy to find. finally found the key to Raftel, in addition to Robin who understands the historical text. The other is Nami, who no one thought of except Dover. Although Nami is beautiful, the beauty around Dover is not too gorgeous. Moreover, her strength is extremely low, and she has no background or influence. Therefore, few women around me paid attention to Nami. Just treat it as an ordinary sister. However today, the girls had to look at Nami differently. The reason is that Nami's natural nautical talent. On the way to Raftel, the climate changed extremely strangely. Although Dover is not afraid, the Pluton battleship cannot be destroyed by the storm. But if you can dodge it, it is better to dodge it. Nami took the initiative to ask for a baby and acted as a navigator, avoiding all the storms accurately. These powerful sailing capabilities made all the women sigh. No wonder, even Golden Lion wanted to forcibly take Nami away and become his navigator. Then, it seems that there is a destiny in it. It is also Nami, who has found the ultimate island, Raftel. Immediately, the women's admiration for Nami was even higher, and they were about to praise Nami to the sky. Nami grinned, although she said on her face, "No, I'm not very good either. I've been rewarded." But her high snow-white chin and the excitement in her beautiful eyes exposed her true thoughts. After all, since getting on the ship, everything about her has been completely crushed by the distinctive beauties around Dover. It's strange that Nami can be happy. At this moment, she was the most proud moment after getting on the boat. Nami's heart is happily blooming. Dover watched this scene amusedly. At that time, he asked Bellamido to create opportunities for Nami to learn sailing skills. Now, there really is a gain. Think about it, Nami is the navigator of Straw Hat Crew in the original book. If she can't find Raftel, who else can find it? Dover couldn't help but stretch out his big hand, and took Nami, who was involuntary, into his arms, scraped Nami Baiji's nose, and said with a smile. "Little thief cat, you have done a great job this time, and I will reward you tonight." Nami blushed immediately, very touching. The expression leaning on Dover's arms was so happy that all the women couldn't help but feel a little envious. Illustration. Raftel, what kind of island is it? Indescribable. In short, there is no island like it in the world. Advertisement. Everything here is in disorder. Time is here, as if it is still. Dover took the girls onto Raftel. The rules of pro-chaos won't work around him. The time of stillness can't affect him, as well as the daughters who are protected by him. Jay ran. A voice came over. This voice is familiar to everyone. Because that is the starting point of the story of One Piece, the declaration of the opening of the era of the Great Pirate. Do you want my treasure? If you want it, go to the sea to find it, I will put it all there. That is the voice of One Piece King D. Roger. Everyone looked over. I saw Roger sitting on the ground not far away without knowing when. One Piece Roger is not dead. Xiao Zi cried out. The girls also changed colors. Wasn't Roger executed more than 20 years ago? His execution stand still remains in Logue Town. That, not the living Roger. Dover spoke now. He is just a ray of shadow in the long river of history. Well, in other words, it is to use the ability of the fruit from time to project consciousness from the past to the present. Because the time here is still, I have survived in this state until now. Hiss. The girls took a breath. It's almost like listening to a fairy tale. Ha ha ha. Roger laughed and looked back at Dover. You even know this, it's not easy. No, after careful sensing, I discovered that there is a devil's aura on your body. In other words, you found the body of the devil. This is something I didn't do back then. Dover smiled slightly and said directly. You don't have to sell anything anymore, you who know everything, now you should say everything. Roger gave a wry smile. Knowing everything, I can't be considered, I just got the legacy of Lord Angel. Next, Roger said all the secrets. In ancient times, there was a huge kingdom. That country was ruled by the supreme angel. Angels are kind and benevolent, regard everything as their own people, in harmony with nature, and friendship with the sea. But, for some reason, in such a beautiful kingdom, darkness is born, and that is the existence of a devil. The devil grows extremely fast, and in a blink of an eye it is stronger than the angel. 800 years ago, the devil killed the angel and destroyed the huge kingdom. And united 20 countries to establish the world government. The so-called celestial dragons are the descendants of demons. But even though the devil killed the angel, he ran out of oil and died soon. Every drop of his blood turned into a devil fruit, which was circulated on the sea. For this reason, those who are capable of devil fruit will be abandoned by the sea. What? Roger said, shocked everyone. Illustration. Just listen to him continue to say. I came to this Raftel back then, and gained the last touch of consciousness that the angel had left, so I learned all this. At the same time, I also gained tremendous power beyond imagination. That's why I can project my realization from the past. This is the me you see right now. And before my real body died, the words left behind were to attract people who dared to resist the world government to come here and learn about these secrets. Advertisement. All the puzzles are solved. It turned out to be so. The crowd was shocked and inexplicable, and could not recover for a long time. And Dover was not too surprised, he asked a question. So, what about that Vegapunk? After destroying the world government and killing all Marines, Dover still failed to find the mysterious Vegapunk. Roger smiled, as if he thought there were things that Dover couldn't do at this time, and felt very funny. Quote. Vegapunk, I was also very curious about who he was back then. I know now. He is actually a figure from the next 500 years to save the world government from being destroyed. I see. Dover nodded. The world government has been destroyed, Vegapunk naturally no longer exists, and the future Vegapunk has also disappeared. This is a time paradox. All that said, even now Dover can't shuttle time at will, especially can't change what has happened at will. So, what about the angel? Dover has one last question. Since celestial dragons are descendants of the devil, the angel also has descendants. Roger said, yes, the descendants of angels exist on the moon, and they are now lunar men. Speaking of which, the little purple girl next to you should be Kazuki Hiyori, the daughter of Tianyushi, who I held back then. The Kazuki clan used to be called the Tianyu clan, they were followers of the angels. After the angel died, in order to recover the moon, it was renamed Kazuki. This is the origin of the Kazuki clan. Xiaozi opened her red lips slightly. Unexpectedly, the Kazuki clan still has such a history. Ha ha ha, I have already said everything, and it's also time for me to completely disappear from this world. Roger smiled drunkenly and looked at Dover. The world from now on is up to you, Donquixote, Mr. Doflamingo. Stop talking. No Zhao, Roger's last consciousness dissipated. There was a long silence. Dover left Raftel with his daughters. As soon as they left, the whole Raftel also disappeared. It seems to have completed the final historical mission and disappeared like relief. Back to the sea. The world has been unified by Dover, the four seas are connected into one piece, and become a real one piece. The Fishmen Island came to live on land. Fair and strict laws have been promulgated. The world quickly returned to order, which was many times better than when Celestial Dragons was in power. Darkness also exists, of course, but most of them are purified by internal power, and Dover basically does not need to take action. And Dover who was free. Lying on the deck of the Pluton battleship. Around him are his women. Yan Yan, Yan Yan, Ying Jie Yan dance, pleasing to the eye. They will be together forever and live happily. End of book. Illustration. Ha, finally finished. Although I know that the interruption has been interrupted for a few months, almost no one has watched it now. But no matter what, it's the end, and the end is still logical. No regrets.